It is 7:34 and our back to school coverage continues this morning. In this year's November election, the state of Rhode Island will be asking voters to borrow $250 million to help pay for school infrastructure improvements. General Treasurer Seth Magaziner co-chaired a task force that recommended how much money to ask for, and he's live in studio to break down how this money is going to be used. So good morning to you.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. We've been continuing our back to school coverage all week. It's important to really talk about this because it's a lot of money. But a lot of people feel that, the time might be right to do these improvements. It's been some time since we've had a bond question about school improvements, right?
Yeah, so first of all, every child in Rhode Island deserves to go to a school that is safe, that is warm, dry, equipped for 21st century learning. And unfortunately, the condition of our school buildings statewide has really reached a crisis level. And this is a statewide problem. It's not limited just to a couple communities. Every school district in the state has some school buildings that need some work. So that's why we're doing this. And as you say, this is an issue whose time has come. I think Rhode Islanders understand that the condition of our school buildings warrants this type of action.
How will the state, though, decide how much each community gets? I mean, it seems like a lot of money, and it is $250 million, but once you start to break it all down between all these cities and towns, how do you make that decision?
Yeah, so again, this is a statewide issue, so we were careful when we crafted this plan to devise it in a way that ensures that every school district will have access to some of this funding. It's essentially a matching fund program, so decisions for which schools to replace, which schools to repair or renovate, these will be local decisions made by the cities and towns and their communities. But what we're saying at the state level is any project that the city or town takes on in the next 5 years will get extra state funding. We're trying to incentivize cities and towns to do more and to do it faster, because it's not fair to the kids, it's not fair to the teachers to let the status quo continue. So we're trying to incentivize the cities and towns to act.
Now, it's important to note that this is just a proposal at this point. Voters still have to approve it or vote it down, depending on what they decide in November. But if it goes through, I know we've spoken to the governor before, that $250 million is only going to make a dent in this. What is the estimate that we would need to borrow or put forward, to be able to fix everything that we need to?
So the $250 million bond is part of a larger plan to invest $1 billion repairing Rhode Island schools over the next 5 years. Some of the funding would come from the bond, some would come from the state budget, and some would come from the cities and towns, because again, this is a matching fund program, and it's important that the cities and towns have some skin in the game as well. So this is one part of a larger plan, but in order for this whole plan to move forward, voters have to approve the bond. So we're encouraging people to vote yes on question 1 so that we can make this investment fixing Rhode Island's school buildings.
All right, Treasurer Magaziner, we appreciate you joining us and providing some more information about this. Our back to school coverage will continue all morning. Coming up in our next hour, keeping your kids healthy during the school year, as Susan Campbell has some helpful advice on really getting rid of germs and important information on what to expect with this year's flu vaccine.
More coverage.